are we?
Child, it's a South Park.
Now this place is funny. I bet if we lived here, more people would watch.
I doubt it.
These videos are not for children. If you're a children, then piss off.
Greetings and salutations, it's me, your least favorite YouTuber, the Infuso. Back at it again with another video that no one asked me to make. Today, I'm here to talk about the show Drawn Together and the day it died. Drawn Together was the first proclaimed animated reality show. If you ever seen the shows The Surreal Life or Celebrity Big Brother, it's basically the cartoon version of that. You have cartoon celebrities who are in fact actually parodies of other famous cartoons, living together in a household. You have Toot, who is Fat Betty Boop, Xandir, who is Gay Link, Captain Hero, who is Stupid Superman, Wooldoor Sockbat, who is the never-before-aired SpongeBob SquarePants adult party cartoon, Princess Clara, who is a hair shade away from being sued by Disney, Ling-Ling, who is a poorly thought-up Pikachu parody, and Spanky Ham, who is an internet mascot.
Pause.
I somehow forgot to mention Foxxy Love, who is kind of a Josie and the Pussycats and Scooby-Doo Mystery Gang hybrid. I wrote it in my script, but I didn't say it in the recording. So,
Not a good look.
If any of that description sounded harsh, just know the show showcases these characters as that. That's not my own personal take. It's a pretty fun premise. Just having these types of characters interact feels like a Kingdom Hearts fever dream. These are worlds you would never think about colliding. This is kind of the crossover that no one was asking for. The show wasn't afraid to push the envelope. It would go places that would make South Park blush. If there was one thing I could say about the show, it's that it was unapologetically itself, for better or worse. I mean, really, this is some real edgelord stuff here. It's surprisingly spicy for TV, but then again, the show ran on Comedy Central, so maybe a little less surprising.
Whoa. Comedy Central? Get the out of my house!
Let's just say that this particular video had to be very carefully edited because there's a lot more to this show that I can't show you in comparison to what little of the show that I can. A lot of what happens in the show I can't even talk about. You know, there's a lot of nudity and basic insensitivity toward every race and just general group of people ever to exist. So I guess in those ways it really is just like an actual reality TV show. They weren't holding any punches when it came to punchlines here. Almost each and every joke is either rated R or rated X. It is total shock humor. I think the show went out of its way to be as outrageous as humanly possible, but then at times it looks like they're going out of their way to be as offensive as possible. Its whole identity was intentionally ignorant, and it made no excuses for it. As a matter of fact, it constantly reveled in that, as the show was constantly being promoted as such. This was both the show's greatest strength, but also the show's greatest weakness. It was always shocking, but it wasn't always funny. When the jokes land, they're horribly hilarious and entertainingly awful. But when they don't, they're some of the most uncomfortably cringeworthy scenes ever animated outside of the internet. After the first season, there is absolutely no consistency throughout the episodes, unless it's for the benefit of a punchline. The canon is constantly changing episode to episode. The rules and relationships vary. One episode can portray the characters as best friends, and the next episode they're mortal enemies. The only common theme is that they're all cartoon contestants on an animated reality show. And that's not even always the case either. You never really knew what you were gonna get and what you were tuning into when it came to Drawn Together, because every episode offered up a very different experience. This made the show very hit or miss. But still, this series had some heart. Despite its charmless content, it had its own unique charm. But man, did they go above and beyond. And by above and beyond, I mean like far and below. This isn't an opinion exclusive to me either, as after 3 seasons, the show was cancelled because the network felt the show was, and I quote here, too far outside the boundaries of good taste. So, yeah, what attracted people to it inevitably ended its lifespan. What brought audiences in scared studios away. Despite this, 3 years after its cancellation, a sequel of sorts was made. An animated movie that I quite frankly hesitate to call that. Now listen, I may have said some nice things about the show. I will not be saying nice things about the movie. I'm not gonna make any excuses for it. This movie is the worst. It's like when they were making this, they went in with the intention of highlighting all the worst parts of the show while completely erasing any of the likable qualities it had. The original show was in bad taste, but this is like in far worse taste. The jokes aren't funny. Half the time, they don't even feel like jokes. They felt like tired references for the sake of making a reference. This is like the animated equivalent of those spoof movies. A big part of the marketing for this movie was centered around the fact that there were explicit animated adult scenes in it, which is a real weird way to promote your comedy. You would think the content would speak for itself, or maybe you'd want to emphasize that there were laughs to be had here, rather than promote scenes that honestly, even back then, any fan artist would be able to put on the internet for free, and probably make it worse. This movie was a mistake. It is a massacre of everything good about the series. The characters don't even feel like the characters. They feel like completely different caricatures. The humor is even more crass and even less funny. It doesn't feel like they were going the extra route to get to a punchline. It felt like they were going this far just to have gone this far. The animation is distractingly different, and it's just not as aesthetically pleasing as the old art style. Then they brought Seth MacFarlane in to voice a robot called Israel, which just makes bad puns about its name the whole time. The movie spends the vast majority of its time picking on itself, picking on its fan base, but most importantly, picking a fight with South Park, parodying the fact that that show had purpose. That's literally the joke. You guys have a point to make. It's all really sad, actually. Trey and Matt are being clowned on for still having stories to tell with South Park in a movie that barely has a plot of its own. Seriously, the main antagonist of this movie is a stand-in for South Park. It's very clear that the creators felt a little snubbed by their cancellation, and clearly felt a little resentful towards South Park and some of the things it's gotten away with without risking ending its run. It's weird that in their farewell, instead of saying goodbye to fans, they used that time to say f*** you to the competition. There is no fun to be had in this movie. It is a completely joyless experience. Like watching one of my videos. It doesn't feel like a celebration of the original show or a fitting send-off for fans. Instead, it feels like an incredibly bitter airing of personal grievances. It's actually quite insulting that this movie was released to a fan base at all. But I think what makes matters even worse is that when this movie came out, the creators told fans that if they did well in DVD sales, there was a possibility that Comedy Central would give them another shot, which just tells you how much they believed in their own product that they had to try to leverage fans into buying what they were trying to sell. The movie honestly almost feels like it wasn't made for the benefit of its audience, but instead to vindicate the haters of the original series. It's pretty pitiful in its own right. It'd be a disaster of an episode, but as an event, as a grand finale, this may just be the worst of the worst.
The lowest of the low.
Yeah, the lowest of the low.
The show wasn't exactly comedic greatness. At least not all the time. I think it was fairly balanced. Half the time it was hilarious, the other half of the time it was horrible. But the movie, start to finish, is just awful. Just a terrible experience. I challenge anybody to watch that movie, start to finish, and laugh 1.5 times. That's all I want. I want a laugh and a snicker in this comedy movie. You can genuinely do that. You put that video on YouTube. You prove me wrong. As far as I'm concerned, it is an impossible challenge. You could not achieve such feat without fiction. Any part of me that might have clamored for another season was completely erased by the time the credits rolled. I'll always have fond memories of the first 3 terrible seasons. I also know a couple of those memories might just come from a place of nostalgia. But this movie left such a bad taste in my mouth that it forever soured me on the brand. So, in actuality, they may have been onto something. It's not a great way to say goodbye by any means, but it did successfully make me never want to greet it hello again, so I think that's something, right? For me, this movie was the definitive death of Drawn Together. Sure, it was the last we'd ever see of it, but it also ensured that that was the last we'd ever want to see of it. For me, Drawn Together, you can just throw it, don't even give it a proper burial, just throw it in the trash, never want to see it again. Anyway, with all that being said, if you like this video and would like to see more of these The Day Blank Died videos, let me know in the comment section below by leaving a comment saying,
You've been drawn together.
I was your least favorite YouTuber, Infuso, and I thank you for watching. Hope to see you in the next one.
I am vengeance. I am the night, and that was Infuso. Just remember, if you're not tuning in, then you're missing out.
So, if you like the words that came out of his mouth hole, and you too would like to become a V-generate, Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, nerds.
And if you're not joining the fun, you're in for one bad day. And you know what they say about having one bad day?
Catch him next time. Same bat time. Same bat channel.